Hi, and thanks for joining me for another video from Counselor Tips. Even though in counseling programs it's not frequently taught, you would be surprised countertransference is a rather common phenomenon. So hang in there as I cover this topic on what it is and how we can use it. Countertransference refers to the counselor's initial internal reaction. It's really based on the counselor's own personal thoughts and feelings. A counselor may find themselves reacting to a client in a positive or negative way, in ways that may be familiar, like to a spouse, a friend, a partner, a past partner, children, parents, colleagues, and so on. For example, a counselor might find themselves talking to a client with a parental tone, which can indicate unresolved concerns with their own children. Psychological, spiritual, and emotional issues can trigger the most educated and experienced counselor within the therapeutic dynamic. First, let's talk about some of the potential negative aspects of countertransference. We want to investigate our own countertransference because it can influence our objectivity in working with a client. A well-trained counselor can identify when they're having countertransference, suspend how it affects the counseling session, and use that information to help the therapeutic alliance develop further and also help the client understand how they may be affecting others. Here are some examples of negative countertransference. Negative transference can be inappropriately disclosing personal information that is not connected to the client's progress or tools or solutions the clients can use. When choosing to use a self-disclosure, you as a counselor really must assess the benefits and risks of providing the self-disclosure. And you want to ask yourself, whose needs are being met, mine or the client's? So when choosing to use a self-disclosure, you want to make sure that it's directly related to the client, and following the self-disclosure, you're going to redirect back to the client, maybe by using an open question, such as, what can you take away from what I shared that is beneficial and possibly a tool for you? Another problem with countertransference is when a counselor offers a client advice. Contrary to popular thought about counseling, that it's the counselor's role to provide direct advice, it is not the counselor's job to tell the client what to do, but to make appropriate suggestions that could be beneficial to the client, such as, I would like you to practice that skill that we performed here in counseling in between your sessions 3 times and let me know how it goes. What parts of it worked for you and maybe what areas we could improve upon. This is making a suggestion of a tool for the client to use, but not providing direct advice. Another area where we would see negative countertransference, a strong preoccupation about what the client is doing, how things are affecting them, and wondering about what they're thinking and feeling. Another area that is primarily thought of when it comes to countertransference is the counselor developing romantic feelings for a client. This would happen, and you could identify this as a counselor if you become overly preoccupied with a client, that you find that you've developed strong feelings about the client in an affectionate way, if you're trying to impress or seek the approval of your client, or if you're having erotic fantasies about your client. If this occurs, I strongly suggest that you seek supervision, consultation, and if it continues to persist, that you seek providing a direct referral for the client to someone else. Another area where we would see negative countertransference is being overly critical of a client, possibly arguing or disagreeing frequently with the client, maybe developing a dislike of the client with no apparent or obvious reason. This would be a good opportunity for you as a counselor to examine your own personal values, beliefs, and emotions surrounding the characteristics of the client, or even past experiences that the client is reminding you of. Another problematic area of countertransference is being overly supportive to a client, such as doing for the client what they could do for themselves. This may be triggering you as a counselor's protective dynamic. This may be magnifying your own attachment concerns. You may be reacting out of your inner child dynamic. This may inhibit the client taking the lead in their own life, career, relationships, and treatment. If your protective dynamic is being triggered, you may have responses that are not appropriate to the client, such as feeling threatened and lashing out at them, especially if they don't take your help or consider your help as beneficial. Another way countertransference may show up is that you lose interest in or the investment in the client and their process and progress. If you lose this investment in the client, it may mean that you feel deeply afraid that you may lose the client altogether. You may find yourself yawning and feeling tired, having difficulty paying attention to the client or being present with them in session. You may feel bored, apathetic, repugnance, forgetfulness, disinterested, depressed, or anxious. All of these really show that you have lost the engagement in the counseling relationship. And this is really an unconscious effort to try and move yourself away from the client. These reactions really become problematic when the counselor loses their sense of control in the counseling relationship and begin to feel that you're there for a different reason, such as possibly rectifying a wrong that has happened in the client's life, or to provide comfort to a client when insight would be more appropriate. How can you as a counselor increase your awareness of countertransference? It can be difficult to know when countertransference is happening, since it starts in the unconscious mind. Well, there are several steps you can take. In the first step, you want to increase your awareness as the countertransference is occurring. Be attuned to the client's transference right from the start of your therapeutic relationship. Notice any resistance that the client may have from your therapeutic alliance and interventions. Pick up when the client is defensive. Make sure that you are identifying and following the client's anxieties. And you want to be able to spot any feelings or wishes that may be attached to those anxieties. How can you address countertransference? If you find that you're sacrificing objectivity or even empathy with a client, this is a great time to consult. When you're consulting, you want to share what you've been experiencing, whether it's feelings or thoughts, and get that objective view outside of the therapeutic alliance to find out or help discover what type of reactions you're having and how they could be related to current or previous experiences with others. You also want to investigate the depth of the feeling and responses that you're having. When you're taking an inventory of your feelings and behaviors, the next step is to provide yourself with adequate amount of time to be able to process your own responses. Another thing that really helps us reduce or even potentially identify and resolve countertransference is to set appropriate boundaries. This means we need to be clear and respect our own limits with regards to our schedule, the fee that we set, the collection of fee with clients, as well as what behavior is acceptable by a client while they're in session with us. Another boundary may be identifying and discussing any misunderstandings, client intentions, or projections from the client into the therapeutic alliance. Although counseling is about the client, We also want to make sure that our professional nature is respected by setting these clear boundaries. We want to check in and make sure we're being mindful, not just being mindful while we're with the client, but also being mindful in the rest of our professional life as well as our personal life. Taking enough time to make sure that we are meeting our own needs. We want to be very careful that we have not developed or are on the road to developing compassion fatigue or burnout. Sometimes counselors will have to seek out their own therapy to resolve some of the countertransferences that is occurring. Countertransference, again, is frequently from past or current experiences that have not been resolved, and your own therapy can be quite beneficial. Before I close out the video, we'll cover just a few aspects of positive countertransference. In today's culture, many counselors consider countertransference to be a very valuable tool. It can provide helpful information about the client to us. There's really been a movement regarding accepting countertransference as a phenomenon that is created jointly between the counselor and the client, and that it is a fundamental and beneficial aspect of treatment. For example, a counselor can correct errors in professional judgment, such as being indulgent, seductive, controlling, or patronizing. As counselors begin to notice their unconscious reactions to a client, the hidden meaning of the client's material then becomes apparent. A skilled counselor can examine their own thoughts and feelings and begin to understand how the client is presenting themselves in other relationships and get a view into the client's world as far as their own struggles, and can provide examples to the counselor of the thoughts and feelings that the client may be evoking in other relationships. A skilled counselor can even bring these up to a client while in the counseling session through the use of the immediacy micro-counseling skill. When using immediacy, it demonstrates to the client that you are authentic in the moment. This can help build trust in the therapeutic alliance. The use of countertransference as a positive tool can impact the client in gaining the insights necessary for them to understand how they're appearing in their own world, within their own relationships, in the context of many situations. If you find that you're having strong reactions either way, in a positive or negative way toward your clients, please speak to your supervisor, please gain consultation from a colleague, or consider seeing your own counselor to work through any past or current struggles that you have in relationships or situations, so that when you have countertransference, it can be used as only a positive tool in counseling. If you found this video to be helpful, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you feel like you're learning from counselor tips, please consider subscribing to this channel so you can learn more from many videos that I do have. If you think that you know somebody who is a student, a current counselor, supervisor, or supervisee that can benefit from this video, please consider sharing it. And I'll see you soon.